Hello everybody and welcome back to Track Talk at Dunkswell again. Yeah, I can probably guess that you're starting to get bored of this, but don't worry, we will be at a different track hopefully next weekend or whenever we're racing for that matter. On this episode 6 of Track Talk, if I remember correctly, I bet somebody's going to correct me on that, but I think it's episode 6. We've got interviews. We've got Jordan Chamberlain on, a former Vice World Champion of karting who works with me at KR Sports, and I hope you'll enjoy the interview. Hi everybody and welcome back to the interviews, sitting down this time, so we've had a bit of an equipment upgrade. I'm joined by Jordan Chamberlain here. Why didn't you tell us, Jordan, what you do here at KR and what your role looks like?
So I'm the Rotax team manager at KR. I joined at the end of 2019, so this is into my second season now with KR Sport. And I'm enjoying my time here, everybody's nice, so yeah.
So you were Vice World Champion in karting, of course. I mean, how did you begin your karting career?
I was pretty fortunate really. Both sets of my family, both granddads were both racing drivers. On a sort of a lower scale, they raced minis. And also my dad was a little bit of a rally driver, so I was born into a motorsport family at a young age. Always had a passion for motorsport, the smell, the noise, so I started watching my dad, granddad at the age of probably 5, probably my earliest memories, and got into racing at the age of 9 and started at my local track down Llandau in Honda Cadet in September 2002.
So then, of course, you progressed through the years and, of course, then you came to European level. What would you say was your best moment through all those years of competition?
I would probably say winning the European CIK FIA OK European Championship was probably my highlight. I was running as a privateer at the time, and I believe I was probably one of the first people to win a CIK title as a privateer. So if you think about it, it's a team like KR versus the factory teams. That was effectively the situation that I was in. So that was probably a proud moment because it was just a small team of 2 drivers. We went out and took on the big European karting teams and came out victorious. So that was probably the proudest moment, really. Yeah,
being a privateer is tough. For those viewers that aren't really, who are, for example, rental karting, it is, you have different teams essentially, and at top level you have the factory teams, which essentially build the chassis, quite frankly, and then you've got kind of the privateers and the customer teams who take those chassis and just run with them privately. So this next question, some people might not want to answer this one. I'll start off because it's only fair if I say it. Your most embarrassing karting moment. I'll say mine first. It was 2016, I think. I was a novice racing Rotax Minimax, and I crashed in the pit lane. Yep, it was kind of a narrow passageway, and I clipped one of the fences, and that spanned me around because I, of course, floored the throttle for some stupid reason. Floored it, spanned me off into the barriers, and then, of course, the crowd gathered, and everybody started shouting at me. Yeah, that was really, not my best moment, but hey ho. Here we are, 5 years down the line, and don't crash in the pit lane anymore. So, lessons were learned.
Top tip.
Yeah.
I would probably say that my most embarrassing was first ever time I was at PFI. I spun out the pit lane in front of a busy grandstand. I think that was probably one of the, PFI was, and it still is the premium of British motorsport. So turning up to PFI for my first ever time was quite a daunting time at the time. I think I was 11 or 12. So to see the grandstands full, it was a lot of pressure on me at the time, or I certainly put a lot of pressure on myself. And one of my first times out on track with cold tyres, I spun in front of the grandstand, and I was racing Jicker at the time. So they had these electric starts. So then my dad, who was my mechanic, had to come and start me on the circuit. So it was pretty embarrassing, really.
Yep, and yeah, here we are many years in later, 2021. Yep. How would you say, looking back over your career, would you have changed anything? How would you...
I think the only thing that I would have changed is probably the sort of later phase of my karting or my motorsport career. Is I tried to go into Formula cars, and I didn't have the budget. So ideally, should have probably looked at go into tin tops, saloon car racing, just purely because it's cheaper, and probably could have found some sponsorship a bit easier. So then that could have prolonged my motorsport career, as my motorsport career was probably quite short, retiring at the age of 18. So yeah, I would probably say that was one thing that I would change, really. But at the end of the day, you know, we didn't have the sponsorship and we didn't have the money to progress, so there wasn't a lot I could change from that. It was just the decision that I made, probably being a bit too ambitious to go into Formula cars. But you know, if you're not ambitious, then yeah, you don't reach the goals that you want to reach.
Yep, as we're saying now in these times, money is becoming the name of the game in motorsport, unfortunately. So rather than to end on a rather depressing note, let's talk about the weekend and what's going on so far.
Yeah, well, let's talk about your day then. Let me interview you. How do you think your day's going then?
It's not been terrible. I mean, I should probably say we've qualified 5th in group, and then we had 2 heats finish 5th and 7th in both my heats, if I remember correctly. Yeah, so it's not been a terrible day. I would have liked to have been further at the front, slightly better times, but you know, compared to 2 years ago when I didn't make out of the repertoire here, I think that's progress.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, the weekend as a whole is going pretty good, considering we've had limited testing today. Obviously, we've been here various times over the year, but yeah, the track's always different when you come as a Motorsport UK event. The track's always sort of more rubbered in, I'd say, than a club race. So yeah, it's been difficult, I think, nailing things straight away in such a short window. But overall, I think the team's done pretty well. We qualified on pole in senior, we qualified on pole in junior. So yeah, overall, not too bad.
Yep, but remember, this is being filmed on Saturday, so still on Sunday, everything to play for. That's it for this interview. We'll see you at the next episode of Track Talk.